Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to talk about a problem that is very intertwined. Basically, the sum of it is U.S. companies are bowing down to Chinese governments who have the thinnest skin you can think of when it comes to anything. We're going to talk about how Americans don't really care that U.S. companies are acting un-American on the global scale. They are taking away people's human rights, or at least sponsoring it, supporting it, in China specifically. Some Americans do care. Obviously, I'm not the first one to talk about it. I've never claimed to be the only person to talk about an issue. But the vast majority of Americans don't give a crap that these U.S. companies, screensaver new, are acting completely un-American when it comes to Hong Kong protests, Chinese censorship of the internet, etc., etc. They just don't care because it doesn't happen to them. This is a problem on a much larger scale that many Americans and people in general across the world don't really care about an issue until it affects them personally, specifically. Let's say overdosing on cocaine, for example. Most people don't give a shit about it, right? Because most people don't overdose on cocaine, or they don't know someone that does. There are areas of the country that a lot of people know people who have overdosed. They're the ones who care about it. They're the ones pushing for legislation. They're the one pushing for politicians to talk about the issue and to solve it. But unless it has personally affected you, personally affected your family, you personally know someone, most people have absolutely no empathy for any of the problems that are going on. Cocaine just being one example, censorship being the problem we're going to talk about today. So let's go to the first article, shall we? Apple hides Taiwan flag emoji in Hong Kong and Manchu. Now, in the grand scheme of things, hiding an emoji on a phone is no big deal. Who gives a flying shit? But the problem is that Apple is bowing down to the Chinese government because the Chinese have such thin skin, unable to take any criticism whatsoever. They're so touchy on the issue of Taiwan because they believe that Taiwan is illegitimate and should be destroyed, and they should be the only Chinese government. We recognize Taiwan as the legit Chinese government because of the Civil War in the 50s. Actually, I think it started in the 40s. But besides the fact, the problem isn't that they're changing an emoji. Who gives a crap about that? The problem is that Apple are such fucking pussies that China sees the Taiwanese guy I can't talk today, the Taiwanese flag on their list of flag emojis they can use, and they're like, oh no, we don't want to do this because, well, let's go into it. We're going to go into why they don't like it. And then Apple bows down to them and takes them out. What kind of society, what kind of government, what kind of U.S. company are we allowing a dictatorial communist regime to tell them what to do? Why are we allowing this? We're going to go into other companies that bow down to China. Then we're going to take a look at a company who didn't, and that's the way every single U.S. company should respond to China asking them to do anything whatsoever. Okay, so Apple iPhone users in Manchu and Taiwan discovered this week that they no longer have access to an emoji bearing the image of a Taiwanese flag, considered a controversial symbol on mainland China. QZ.com reported Tuesday the emoji has vanished from devices operating in 2 of China's special administrative regions, a sign of China's growing animus towards the Chinese government, which considers Taiwan to be an independent nation separate from China. No mention of the removal was found in Apple's most recent iPhone patch notes, and the company did not immediately return a request for comment from the Hill. So that's the problem. They don't even mention it. They don't respond to a request from the Hill. They just do it. They censor things, and this isn't the only thing Apple censors. Apple has been censoring things for years now. This is just related to the topic we're talking about, and they made no mention of it whatsoever. They don't even acknowledge that happened. It's just like in 1984 when they never mention that they had been at war for this one country for decades. They just totally switch it to another country. Like, oh, actually, no, we've been at war with them this entire time. And they never, ever mention that they were at war with the first country ever again. If they do, they take you to the gulag and shoot you in the head and make you love Big Brother. Now, obviously, Apple's not doing that, but the principle is the same. Why is Apple bowing down to China on something so trivial as a flag? But China has all their panties in a bunch. It's like, the Taiwanese are being mean to us because they criticize us and they think our government is illegitimate. Well, it is, because it's a communist regime that has no elections. It's just a one-party rule for decades and decades. Oh, and you take away all of their human rights. Human rights abuse in China are just horrible, beyond comparison to anything. One of the worst violators in the world. And they're getting upset over a stupid flag, and Apple bows down to it. Why? Because they love Chinese money. An analysis of the change performed by one Twitter user revealed that the change was made through Apple's keyboard and was region locked, so we can still do it. But people in those two regions can't do it. Allowing those wishing to use the emoji to digitally switch their regions and access the symbol. Hong Kong has been a center of months of protests by pro-democracy demonstrators. Here's the whole problem. Again, like I said before, China has incredibly thin skin. Whenever anyone rises up against the government and talks bad about them at all, they just completely wig the fuck out and just censoring things en masse. Whenever a Taiwanese supporter does anything, they just shut down huge sections of the internet. China has the ability to do that. The U.S. government does not have the ability to do that because the internet is not government-owned. China controls all industry in their country. They're private organizations, obviously, but the Chinese government controls all of them. If they just want to shut down the internet, then they can. There are no third-party ways to get internet. If the U.S. government told Verizon, for example, to shut down all their servers, anyone who has Verizon internet, Verizon One, whatever they call it, or they told Comcast or Xfinity, to shut down their servers so no one has internet, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? We need money. That's how we make our business. We're just going to shut down shit just because you're crying over some emoji. But no, that doesn't happen in China because China controls everything. And if any company would say, oh yeah, we're not going to shut down the government, shut down the internet because the government told us, then the Chinese government would send in dozens, if not hundreds, of armed troops and force them at gunpoint to do that and then arrest them and take them to the Gulag for 20 years. Controversy surrounding police treatment of protesters has led to a back and forth between the nation and the NBA after the Houston Rockets general manager expressed support for the Hong Kong protests. The NBA, which has billions of dollars of business with ties with China, promptly replied saying the GM did not speak for the entire league. Here's another problem of the NBA being total fucking pussies when it comes to a dictatorial, tyrannical regime. Because why? Because of that last sentence I just read, which has billions of dollars in business ties with China. The NBA loves Chinese money. Apple loves Chinese money. Blizzard loves Chinese money. Facebook loves yellow money. Why'd I say that like I was Mario? The money. Because it's all international. That's why. I just like mocking people. So they have billions of dollars in business ties. China gets her panties in the bunch and starts wigging the fuck out. And then the NBA has to apologize because the Houston Rockets general manager expressed support for the Hong Kong protesters. So here we have a situation where an American general manager, he has no ties to China at all, except the fact that his organization has business ties. But him personally is not Chinese, he's not a Chinese citizen, whatever. He just expresses support for Hong Kong protesters, who, by the way, are fighting for American values, the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, the right to free and public speedy trial, no search and seizure. They want all of the rights that we enjoy, that we take for granted, that people just think, they don't think of it in their everyday lives because they're just used to it here, to just having that. All he did was express support for people who are espousing American values, and then the NBA has to apologize for that to a dictatorial government, a foreign government. Why are we allowing an American company to bend the knee that much to a dictatorial communist regime? Again, it's just expressing support in an apology. It doesn't actually mean anything. But it's the principle. Why are we bowing down to them? Why are we allowing money to be more important than human rights and freedom? Oh, that's right. We've been doing that for decades. This is nothing new, by the way. The U.S. always loves money over freedom and human rights. That's why we have no problem taking away people's human rights, millions and millions of people's human rights across the globe, if that means more money for us. The NBA's response was hammered by lawmakers on both sides in the aisle of Washington, who accused the Basketball League of caring more about Chinese investment than human rights. Well, that's funny that lawmakers on both sides are saying that. I think that's a really good case of projection right there, because lawmakers on both sides in the aisle in Washington also care about Chinese investments more than human rights. We'll get into that, shall we? So we go to the next article. One of America's biggest gaming companies is acting as China's censor. Activision Blizzard punished a pro player for speaking out on behalf of Hong Kong. This should be unacceptable. I can't believe I'm actually agreeing with Vox, who is so radically left it's nauseating. But again, a broken clock is right twice a day. They are actually correct in this article. Holy shit, write that on the calendar, for crying out loud. Why are we allowing an American company to act as a Chinese censor? We already ruled, the Supreme Court already ruled that companies are like human beings when it comes to political donations, for example. Because they're privately owned. People make these decisions. A company is not a human, obviously, but they're made up of people. Why are we allowing an entity that we consider a human, legally speaking, to act as a censor, to take away people's human rights, to act un-American, to go against the Bill of Rights and Constitution? Why are we allowing this? A lot of people are mad about this. Obviously, this is why articles are written about it. There have been memes about it. Obviously, I'm not the only person who's saying this is unacceptable. But the vast majority of people don't give a flaming shit. Why? Because they're the ones not getting censored. If they were the ones getting censored, simply by speaking out on behalf of Hong Kong protesters, and then your livelihood was taken away because you're a gamer, or you were forced to apologize because you're an NBA general manager, or whatever, then you would be concerned about it. Activision Blizzard, one of America's biggest gaming companies, just bowed to Chinese censorship in a disturbing way, suspending a professional player of Hearthstone, his digital card game, over a statement supporting the Hong Kong pro-democracy protest. This, again, is disturbing. Why? Because we are allowing a professional player. This is his job. He's not just doing this for shits and giggles. He's not just playing a game for fun because he's a nerd. He's a professional player. This is how he makes his livelihood. So we are allowing the Chinese government to tell an American company, fire this employee because he said something we don't like, and then they go ahead and fucking do it. That's the problem in a nutshell. Why are we allowing a dictatorial communist regime to take away an American's livelihood for saying something in tandem with the Bill of Rights and Constitution? Why? Why is that okay? Why is the U.S. government just saying, fuck you? We have something called the Bill of Rights and Constitution, which is why we're better than you and your country fucking sucks dick, and why millions of Chinese people want to come to our country every year. Why? Because we're better than you. Fuck you. Why don't we say that? That's what we should say. The offending commentary. Oh, so this in Chinese government, in their eyes, offending commentary is simply saying someone should have freedom of speech. Someone should be able to live their lives the way they want, to manifest destiny, to, to do what they want in life, not just bow down to the Chinese government. That's offending commentary. Came from Chung Nung Wei, I don't know if I'm saying that right, a Hong Kong-based player who goes by the name Blitz Chung, came during an official interview on Sunday held after he won a match in the Hearthstone Grandmaster Tournament, the highest level of competition in the game. He said that liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our time, a protest slogan in the city, while wearing goggles and a face mask, items commonly donned by protesters to conceal their identity. The protest, which began over extradition law, has morphed into a broad-based demand to protect the semi-autonomous city's democratic political system from mainland China's attempt to exert control over it. So just a quick history lesson. This whole thing started because China wanted an extradition law, meaning if someone in Hong Kong broke a law in Chinese law, not Hong Kong law, then China wanted the ability to kidnap that person, bring him to China, and try him under Chinese law. Now Hong Kong's like, wait a fucking second, that's breaking our autonomy. We are a semi-autonomous city. We have our own laws. We have freedom of speech, unlike you communist fuckers. So if someone says something you don't like, you don't have the right to come in here and take that person and kidnap him. Extradition is kidnapping, in case you haven't noticed. Bring him back to China in some gulag where he has no access to a lawyer, can't talk to his friends and family, there's no public trial at all, breaking all sorts of rights that Hong Kong enjoy because our Bill of Rights and Constitution is awesome. It's based off that. That's the rights they want. And then condemn him for 10, 20 years in some gulag because he said something that the Chinese government doesn't like. On Tuesday, Blizzard came down hard on Chung. An official statement on Hearthstone's blog, the company announced it would be suspending Chung for a year, forcing him to forfeit thousands of dollars in prize money, and firing the casters, the commentators, who conducted the interview. Can you fucking believe that? How is this not just... It's riled up a bunch of people on the internet, thankfully. But the vast majority of Americans don't give a shit. They're like, oh, Hong Kong protesters, they want something. Chinese government's kind of bad. There's gaming, yeah, and that's the end of it. And they go about their business. So then it goes into the NBA, which we just talked about a couple minutes ago. Blizzard is not merely trying to operate within the fines of Chinese censorship, but it's acting as its agent. Because it's the one going in and suspending them and forfeiting the money and stuff like that. Chinese government's not doing that. They told Blizzard to do that, and now they're doing it. The non-Chinese Hearthstone players base is furious at Blizzard. The game's subreddit is full of long-time players vowing to quit the game in protest. Count me as one of them. I've been playing Hearthstone daily for about 2 years, including spending some money on cards and reaching the top tier of the game's competitive ladder. But now I'm done, both with Hearthstone with any other Activision Blizzard product, unless it reinstates Chung and the casters. The case for boycotting Blizzard and other US companies who act as Chinese censors. Blizzard's user base remains overwhelmingly non-Chinese. The entire Asia-Pacific region makes up 12% of its revenue. So Blizzard is operating rules that is not coming from the vast majority of its base. The vast majority of its base is America, 55%, and Europe and the Middle East is 33%. Why are they dictating the rules for all these other players in all these other countries? Why is Blizzard bowing down to the vocal, whining minority that is Asia-Pacific? Asia-Pacific. Man, I cannot talk today. This video is going to be horrible. Why are we allowing them to do that?
Wah, wah, wah.
Again, I'm running low on time here, so I'll leave a link to all these articles as always, so you can read them in its entirety. Let's go through yet another Facebook. Man, I cannot talk. Are you kidding me? I think it's been so long since I actually talked in front of the camera. Usually I talk and just audio, so I don't know what's wrong with me today. Facebooking making a China censorship tool. So not only are U.S. companies bowing down to China's ridiculous demands over petty shit, but they are actively making censorship tools for them. Facebook worked on special software so it could potentially accommodate censorship demands in China, according to a report in the New York Times. The social network refused to confirm or deny the software's existence. How 1984-ish is that? But said that a statement, it was spending time and understanding and learning more about China. Translation, we're making a censorship tool to take away people's freedom of speech. What's to stop them from simply importing that software over to the American servers and censoring it the exact same way once the American government, getting more tyrannical by the day, asks them to do that? Facebook already censors a buttload of American commentators, people. I mean, just Google it. I don't have time to read up all these reports. Hundreds of thousands of people have been censored on Facebook, Americans, for saying absolutely nothing wrong, simply something that doesn't align with Facebook's radical left liberal agenda. What's to stop them from importing the software and doing the exact same thing? Why are we allowing Mark Zuckerberg, an American, to make software that is against the Bill of Rights and the Constitution? Why are we allowing him to subvert the Bill of Rights and Constitution? Why isn't the government saying, hold on, lizard man, alien lizard man, what the fuck are you doing? We have a Bill of Rights and Constitution for a reason. You should fucking follow them as an American company. If you don't, get the fuck out of here. Go to fucking China, and Facebook will now be a Chinese corporation. We don't allow that shit here. That's what they should do, but they don't because they're fucking pussies. Why? Like the first article, they love Chinese money. Let's see. No decisions about the company's approach in the country have yet been made, a spokeswoman said. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, a group which campaigns for better privacy online, told the BBC the project sounded incredibly disturbing. Kudos to the Facebook employees who brought this attention to the New York Times. It's very nice to know that there's some principled people still working there, so kudos to them. We'll give credit where credit is due. Facebook employees saw them making the software and like, hold a second, this is anti-American as fuck. Let's go take this to the press. In the New York Times, the garbage organization actually published this stuff. Like, again, these news corporations, which 99.9% of the time spread fake news like motherfuckers, again, occasionally do correct things. I can't believe it. Facebook regularly removes content from the network at the request of governments. It makes this process relatively public, with a yearly report detailing the quantity and nature of takedown requests. Where this software would differ in the fact that it would enable a third party, likely a Chinese government working with Facebook, to prevent messages from appearing in the first place. The range of topics censored in mainland China is vast. Most famously, searches related to the Tiananmen Square yields no results to the 1989 massacre. There are younger Chinese people who grew up way after 1989 who have no idea this massacre even happened. Why? Because no matter how they search, Google, Facebook, Bing, every single internet provider is censored by the Chinese government. They can literally find no information about this massacre. They have no idea their own government massacred people. How many people died? How many people died in Tiananmen Square? 10,000 people. Let's verify that. Oh, well, we don't even know because they censor stuff so much. No precise figures exist. Estimates vary from hundreds to several thousands. Let's just say thousands. Some people say it's at least 10,000 people. So it's several thousand people simply for protesting for human rights. There are a huge generation of Chinese people that have no idea their government massacred tens of thousands of their own citizens. How 1984-ish is that? Why are we allowing an American company to further that censorship? Why are we allowing an American company to cover up a massacre of tens of thousands of innocent people to an entire generation of Chinese people? Why? It's like that meme. I'll put it up.
Why?
Why are we allowing this to happen? We will end with how all those companies should have responded to. South Park, who got in trouble because they dared to make fun of China in their last episode. China asked the same thing. They asked them to censor that episode, to take it down, to apologize. But they responded the correct way, the American way. I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Is it for what? Arresting me for what? I'm not allowed to stand up for myself? I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Official apology to China from Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our home and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. Z doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune in to our 300th episode on this. And there you have it. This is the times we live in, that a comedy show is responding more American than huge multi-million-dollar American companies. We look to South Park for our morals when it comes to how we respond as Americans. They have been consistently right on every single issue since their founding. They mock people who should be mocked. They are completely anti-censorship. This is how Blizzard and Facebook and Apple and the NBA should have responded. By just saying, fuck you, you guys are assholes, we're Americans, we can make fun of whoever we want because that's why our country is better than yours. That's the way every U.S. company should respond to these thin-skinned fucks from a horrible regime saying, hey, can you take anything? We don't like it. Well, fuck you. We say what we want.
We don't care what you say! Dirty! Motherfucker, crazy! Everyone you civilizing! You might just confine in time! Might have jumped over on to brave! We don't care what you say! Fuck you! We don't care what you say! Tell your friends are really sick! Long and facts that are company true! You should know, you're so cool! Number one, you ain't nobody's fool! We don't care what you say! Fuck you!